In Lesson 2.12, you created an HTML form that sent or posted data to another page. ASP.NET normally uses a form to post data back to the same page. This is called PostBack. By using PostBack, the user sends data to your website without moving between pages. ASP.NET's controls expect this, and you can use it to your advantage. You learned earlier that JavaScript is client-side code, while the C# code in code behind files is server-side code. Server-side code can only run when the browser posts back to the server. One advantage of this is that server-side code can't be seen by visitors to your site. C# server-side code can also do many things that JavaScript can't, such as accessing a database. The downside of PostBack is that the user has to send a request back to the server every time they want the page to update, and the whole page has to be reloaded. If you have large pages, this can make them significantly slower. JavaScript can change pages without posting back to the server, which makes it much faster. However, it is less secure than server-side code and has some limitations. Using web services, it is possible for JavaScript and C# to work together and only update certain parts of the page. This is known as Ajax. Ajax isn't covered in this course, but you can learn all about it in the Expert Skills course in this series. To begin this lesson, open the C# test sample file from your Sample Files folder. And open the code behind file of postbacktest.aspx. Now view the page in your web browser. Next, click the Click Me button. You might notice a brief flicker as the page reloads, although this has been mostly eliminated in the latest web browsers. This happens because the page's form was submitted and the data posted back. Next, choose an item from the drop-down menu. This time, the page does not reload and the form is not submitted. By default, changing the value of a drop-down menu doesn't cause the form to be submitted. Now try clicking the checkbox. Once again, you can see that this doesn't cause a postback. Now close your web browser and return to Visual Studio. Next, you're going to add some C# code that will check whether the page has been posted back. Add the following code to the page load event handler. Label is postback.text equals page.isPostback.toString. Page.isPostback contains a value that tells you whether the page has been posted back. ToString converts the value into text. Now view the page in your browser again, and you can see that the label at the top of the page says false. This tells you that the page has not yet been posted back. The user has just loaded the page for the first time and hasn't clicked on any controls yet. Click the button and the label changes to say True. This means that the user has submitted the form and posted back some data. This is useful because it allows you to make some of your code run only when the page first loads, rather than running every time the page is posted back. You'll see how this can be done in Lesson 7.1. Finally, you're going to make a non-postback control, like the drop-down list, post back when it is clicked. Earlier, you saw that the drop-down list and checkbox controls don't automatically post back when you click on them. If your page needs to be updated when the user changes one of these controls, you might want them to post back. This can be achieved by setting the Auto Postback property. Close your web browser now and open postbacktest.aspx in Design View. Now select the drop-down list control and set the control's Auto Postback property to True. You learned how to set properties in Lesson 1.13. Now view the page in your browser again and try selecting an item from the drop-down list. This time, the page posts back, and the label at the top of the page confirms this. The Auto Postback property is available on most controls that don't automatically post back. In the HTML form that you created in Lesson 2.12, the only way to submit the form was to click a button. In this lesson, you've seen that ASP.NET can submit its form when other things happen. It does this by automatically generating JavaScript code to submit the form. If you open the page in your browser and view the source by right-clicking and clicking View Source from the shortcut menu, you can see that ASP.NET has added lines saying JavaScript do postback. This JavaScript code causes the form to be submitted. Because JavaScript is client-side code, you should always be aware that someone browsing your site might have disabled JavaScript, in which case the postback will not work. Close your web browser now and close Visual Studio. You've now completed Lesson 3.8. Understand postback.